What's up everybody, Derek here. In this video I'm going to show you how to change your transmission fluid and filter in an F150 with the 6R80 transmission. Want to double check your parts, but mine's going to use the FT188 and then the Mercon LV fluid. Some of the older transmissions use a little bit different fluid, so just make sure you look up your truck before you do this. Mine's 2012. It's got the 6.2. It's the Raptor, so that's what I'll be using. I'm also going to change the pan. This one's got a drain plug in it, and since I bought this truck with decently low miles, I'm going to keep up on maintenance and make it as easy as I can, and that drain plug will help out a lot next time I change the filter out. I'm sure you're wondering, why don't I just take it in and get it flushed? Never, ever, 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 ever get your transmission flushed. What happens is they hook up a machine and they pump new fluid through it, and it pushes everything out, which sounds great, but the problem is when you do that, you're actually moving particles that have kind of found a home, and those particles could get jammed up in one of the check bulbs, in a line, in a clutch, and that's exactly what you don't want. So you're not going to get all the fluid out when you do this. I bought 10 quarts. These jugs were a lot cheaper than the quart jugs. But I think it'll only take like 7 or 8. It never hurts to have some laying around. So get 10 quarts of fluid, filter that pan if you want to. The gasket's reusable, so I'm not going to worry about the gasket. So let's get underneath and get started. Alright guys, the first thing we're going to do is take a 19mm wrench, and on this right here, that's your fill plug, you're going to want to break that loose, which I've already done, and take it out. These transmissions have a vacuum on them, so if you were to start dropping the pan bolts before you did this, the fluid wouldn't really come out. It would just kind of hang out up there. Now my truck is warm. This is the catalytic converter. It's super hot. Try not to burn yourself too much on it. Even my transmission's warm, so. I'm sure there's probably better gloves that you could use to do this. There, it's out. There's your actual dipstick. You see on here there's an A and a B. Those are your different fill levels. Remove stick from cap before use, so it just pulls out like that. We'll set these off to the side. Next thing you want to do is get a drain pan set up. I'm using an old cookie sheet and a drain pan at the very back of my transmission here at the pan. What we're going to do now is loosen up all the bolts around the pan except for these two here and those two on the other side. Once we get all the other bolts out, I'm going to loosen this very front one a little bit and start to loosen this one on both sides, and that's going to let the pan start to fall and the fluid will come out. This is why I'm getting that pan with the drain plug, because doing this can make a humongous mess. And these are just 8mm heads. Okay guys, I got all those bolts out. As you see, it's already starting to drip. So if you noticed, I pulled all those out with my little battery powered impact, but with these front ones I'm going to use a ratchet so I have a little bit more control over how much it drops. And they're not very tight, so 1/4 inch is fine. See, I barely turned that and the fluid started pouring out, so just little turns at a time and you'll be fine. So I'm going to let this drain a while and we'll come back after it's all done. Alright guys, it drained a lot faster than I thought it would. So what I did was I slowly loosened those two bolts until all the fluid came out and it just kind of stopped. Then I took them out all the way. Then I loosened these very front two until, again, the fluid basically stopped. I pulled this one out all the way. This is the only one left. So now all we're going to do, make sure you hold your pan. We're going to pull this last bolt out. There will still be fluid in the pan, so be careful when you take it down. And the filter will drop. If you heard that, it's a great big filter. It's filled with fluid, so just be ready for it. Have a good grip on your pan, and it's out. Go ahead and dump the fluid out of it and set it off to the side. Okay guys, got the pan out. First thing we're going to do is take our filter out of the pan. You want to make sure this orange O-ring came out with your filter. If not, I'll show you where it goes, but you'll want to check up in the hole and get that out of there. There's going to be fluid in your filter. Set it off to the side. Go and empty your pan. And then we're just going to kind of check it over. Make sure you don't have an excessive amount of metal down here, different materials. This actually looks really good. So we're going to pull our magnet off. And we're going to spray this off with brake clean. And our gasket comes off. And we'll just wipe this down. Like I said, it's reusable. Looks like it's still in good shape. And if you see there, it's kind of hard to focus. There we go. That crisscross, or that the rubber part of it crosses again across the metal part of the gasket, and that's completely okay. It's what it's supposed to do. So just wipe this down really good with a rag. I wouldn't use any solvents on it. It could ruin the rubber part. But I'm going to be using a new pan, so I'm not worried about cleaning this one up. So clean up my gasket, clean up my magnet, get the new pan ready, and we'll throw it all back together. Okay, I got my magnet cleaned up, got my gasket cleaned up, got my new filter ready. Make sure this O-ring is on your new filter. And I got my pan. The next thing we're going to do is throw our magnet on here. Next thing we're going to do is come under here. We're just going to wipe off our gasket mating area. You see some dirt and grime on the edge here. You don't have to worry about that. That's not where the gasket sits. The other thing we're going to do is look up here. There's a hole right above that yellow piece. That's where your oil filter goes. We're going to wipe that out. And that's also where you're going to make sure there's no O-rings still stuck in there. 2 O-rings is really bad, obviously. No O-ring, also very bad. So I'm going to get this cleaned up and then we'll throw the pan on. Okay, wiped everything down. First thing we do to reinstall. Let's take our filter, push it up in there, and just let it hang. Let's dry that hole out. It'll hold on a little better and just hang out for you. Get your gasket on your pan and maneuver it up here. The gasket only goes on one way. All the transmission bolts are the same length, so you don't have to worry about finding the exact spot they came out of. Just get a couple started kind of opposite of each other. Finger tight's fine. I'm going to go through, put all the bolts in. In order to tighten this, just start in the middle on one of these two and then crisscross. And then here, here, and just kind of go back and forth until they're all tight. The torque is like 96 inch-pounds, I believe, so really not much torque on them. I'll leave that in the comments so you've got it. But go ahead and get this all tightened up and we'll fill it with fluid. Got the pan up, everything's tightened down. That takes a while. Try to torque every one of those bolts. It feels like there's 100 of them. But all that's left now is to fill it and check our level. Filling it is a real pain in the butt. It's just in a really bad location. So you kind of have two options. You got this, which is an oil suction gun. You dip this end into your fluid, pull back on the plunger, fills this tube up, take the hose, stick it into the hole where the dipstick was, push your plunger back in, the fluid's in there. I think it'll do about a quart at a time, which really isn't too bad. Or you've got this, these screw onto the top of the like oil, like your quart bottle, and you just pump it, stick this end up into the hole where the dipstick was, and pump until your arms fall off. I'm going to use the suction gun. I think it'll be a lot, not just quicker, but easier. I've used these doing differentials all the time, and it just really wears out your arms. So after everything's filled up, which once fluid starts seeping out of your hole where your dipstick goes, that's how you know you've got enough in there. Hop in, start the truck, run it through every gear a few times, put it into park, leave it running, and that's how you're going to check your level and add if you need to. There's going to be a video on how to check and add fluid to your transmission if needed, to check the fluid level and add it if it's low. So I'll put the link for that video below or on the screen somewhere. So that's it for this job, guys. Pretty simple to do. If you've got a truck you plan on keeping for a while, I would definitely recommend getting that pan with the drain plug in it. It's going to make it a lot easier next time. Or less messy, I guess. Maybe not easier. So go ahead and give the video a like. Subscribe if you haven't. Told your buddies. Take a minute out of your day to do some maintenance. Have a great day.